Am I clear? Okay, I'm not at home, I'm out, but I'm hoping that the background will be great. Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thank you for what you and Ellen have just done. Amazing information that we need so much. And yes, I'm here this evening just to share my testimony. You guys have painted a wonderful picture statistically of what this community is doing. And I'm hoping tonight my story can be a face to those statistics that are really changing their lives through Gift of Legacy. So for everyone that might not know me, my name is Ningi Ngubane. I'm born and raised in KZN. I'm based in Johannesburg. I'm married. I have 2 kids. I'm a full-time resident of Johannesburg. So just to take you on a brief journey because of time of my story, when I became a mother in 2007, I was a newly qualified chartered accountant. That's professionally where I come from. I had been part of a prestigious firm. I had done my articles there. I'd gone to one of the best universities in the country. I come from a very, very modest family, to put it lightly, but by God's grace, you know, He always makes a way. And I studied and I qualified end of 2006. 2007, I became a mom and a wife all in 1 year. And I think the love of my son made me realize I was working in one of the most demanding industries, being the banking industry, which is where I had done my training. I used to come home at about 10 o'clock at night when my baby was like 6 months old. Never used to see him, only saw him on weekends. So from that early age, I realized, you know what? I need to make money differently. But what had gotten me to my profession was I was raised in an entrepreneurial home. My father's dad was literally a multimillionaire in the late 80s, but he did it very traditionally. He passed before I was 10 years old. But what I saw in his life, he had a lot of money, no life at all. He was into retail shops. He owned big retail supermarkets in the townships and the rural areas all over, from Durban to northern KZN, and that's how he made his money. And I looked at him and how hard he worked, and I knew I didn't want a traditional business. I did not want it. When my grandfather passed, I was 9. But one thing I'd learned from him is with all his money, I did not want a traditional business. So how I got to my profession, I then had to look at my capabilities. And I thought, you know what, I'll be set if I find a career where you are the boss and you work for someone, because I saw the stress of, you know, being an entrepreneur. My grandfather had deep trusting issues with his employees because there was just so much loss. You know, he battled with who to trust. And I believe he ended up with 4 wives because he was trying to get spouses, because, you know, when you can't be there, if your better half is there, then you know. But if you are just relying on employees, it's a bit tough. So he was a polygamist as well with 4 wives. So I then felt I want a job that will be very comfortable, where I'll have a very nice life, but it will be a job I can walk away from it. But what I had not realized is the 21 day off in a whole year. I had no clue about leave at all until my first job in 2003. That became the biggest shock of my life, that even when I had little money to do something, my jobs had always been demanding. It was, no, but you can't go now, there's board, you can't go now, there's audit committee, oh, but the auditors are coming, you need to prepare. So I found myself that even when I was making okay money, I wasn't free. And that's when I really started. I knew I wasn't gonna go to traditional business. I knew that the job thing I was hating, and very fast, because my son was literally growing up and I wasn't there. I had to rely on nannies to raise my son while I was so-called working. So my first community venture that I was introduced to, that absolutely opened my eyes. As an accountant, I was aware of shares, I was aware of property, but because of my financial position, I wasn't in a position to have 50 million to put in property or shares, because at that point I was looking for a passive income of 100,000 every month. I was just thinking something would pay me 100,000 every month and I don't have to keep coming to work for it. Then I would have financial freedom. So at that point, my financial freedom was 100,000 a month. I got introduced to the community of the business of Amway late 2007. And for the first time, that's when I understood the power of communities working together for a common goal. I was taught, concepts like, prosumerism instead of being just a consumer, just clubbing together and realizing that as consumers, we are the ones that are funding economies. Everybody else is waiting for us to spend, whoever they are, whatever they develop. They are fighting for my family budgets that I will go and buy it. So if you are that powerful to fund the economy, at least get it to work for you. Get that economy to give you back money that you no longer have to work for. So I was introduced to that. I was also introduced to a concept of continuous learning, continuous education program. And I realized that a lot of that, if you don't have it yet, maybe the reason is you haven't learned what it takes. So I had to admit that with the degrees I had and the profession and all that, I did not know how to get financial freedom and had to be humble to learn. So that was where it all began. And from there, and I share this because I'm hoping if we get to share this with someone who's considering our community, maybe it may speak to them. From there, I became part of this community, and they were just warning us about things out there that are shiny and don't last. They were big on that. So after over 10 years being in this community, I was not happy with my progress. Really, when I looked at the effort I was putting in a lot of effort, giving up a lot of family time, hoping obviously at some point it would end. I gave way over 10 years into this venture. And I remembered around 2016, I thought, you know what? I don't want to continue here anymore. At that point as well, at actually 2014, I had made a decision. The job I was in was my last. I took a 5-year contract in 2014 that was going to end in 2019, August, because I wanted to time myself to say, you've been hating working. Here you are, it's almost 15 years later, you're still working. Nothing has changed. So I put myself in a position where I took a 5-year job and I said, at the end of this 5 years, come what may, I am never gonna be an employee again. So in the middle of that, I was also assessing the vehicle I have is not quite, taking me there at the rate that I'd hoped that it would. So in the middle of all that, a person that was dear to me that I traveled a decade in this community with, we kind of connected. He used to check on me. He then introduced me and he said, Ningi, I'm now doing things online. Do you want to check out what I'm doing? And I said, no, those are the shiny objects I've been warned about, those things that disappear. No, by no means no. And he kept, saying, I know how hard you've worked on our other venture, because he had been my mentor on the other venture, very dedicated to me, just wanting to help me succeed, and it hadn't happened. And he said, I know how hard you work, and I know how hard you've worked, and these things are working. Have a look. And at that time, he was looking into crypto, Bitcoin in particular, and it really was working for him. And again, I'm sharing this aspect because I know a lot of us who come into this community have a history where we've tried things and they haven't worked. And that's the reason I'm just touching on this aspect. So after a while, there was going to be a need I was going to have in December 2018. And I took some money. At the end, it came to about 160,000. And I said, you know what? I trust you. Do this for me. And I think the guys that have been in Bitcoin longer know what happened in Bitcoin post-January 2018, which is the time I just come in. So I lost all that, And now I was actually sharing this with a brother from church to say, sometimes, I'm Christian, so I look through things with that lens. So I believe sometimes the enemy has a quick glimpse into your future. And if you're not strong, you can be stopped before you begin. So anyway, that happened and it shook me, and it really made me realize, yeah, this is what I was warned against, and I didn't listen. But the same person also introduced me to the Precursor platform. After all that, a few years later, I came across the Precursor platform, and I had reached out to him on something else. And he said to me, Ningi, check this out, after I was sharing with him where I was financially. And the sentence I said to him, which is one of the things I love about Gift of Legacy, I said to him, look, I have it does this for me, it's growing, it's a long-term thing, eventually it will get there. But I'm looking for an economy, I'm looking for a community that will help me financially, such that I can lift up the heavy load that I have in my life financially. So this was now after I'd left working. Came August 2019, I took the bold decision to stop working. My husband had, unbeknown to us, it wasn't planned, had stopped 2 years before then abruptly. Something happened at work and he had to stop. We were in a household where myself and my husband with 2 kids were both not working. Our house was not paid up. Yes, cars, because we drive very old cars, but house was not paid up. We had significant school fees, like very significant school fees to pay for the kids. We have rates, we have life to live. And day to day, we literally did not have money. And I did this because I believed, I've worked for 15 years and having a job has kind of like held me back in my faith to push all the way. Sometimes when you burn bridges and you are on the other side and there's no way back, you really just give things your all. And that was the faith that I had to say, you know what? Jobs have held me back because I can't give my all into anything that I do. Now I'm putting myself in a position where I'll be able to do that. So the very same gentleman then became the one who brought me into this community. And like I said, my line to him was, yes, I'm doing this. Yes, I can see where it's gonna go 5, 10 years from now, but I need something right now that will help me lift a heavy load. He had only been in this community a week or so himself. And he said, you know what, come on board, let's do the research together. This was last year, middle of February. And almost a year later, here we are. And I joined this community. I found Candace, I found leaders with a heart for people. Because what I realized as well with my journey is in my family, my experience was, you are so lucky, you had the brains, you are a CA, so you can afford the life that you had. And a lot of people looked at me and felt you're so lucky to be smart and have that qualification and earn the kind of salary that you were earning. And my immediate family, when it came to anything, that would be how they looked at me. So there was a very strong desire in my heart to do something that any person on this earth, whether you are a CA, whether you've never been to grade 2, if you have a heart to learn a little bit, have a heart to be taught technology, have a heart to learn some of the things that you didn't know, you could transform your life. And it became a personal challenge to me to say, I want to eliminate excuses around me. It began with my immediate family. Then it grew to the greater community around me, that I don't want to be labeled as lucky. I want to find a vehicle that anyone can use and prosper. And also as my kids grew, I realized the need of having something I can hand over to them, regardless of their personality, regardless of their EQ, IQ, and all other things that I use traditionally to determine how successful or not you're gonna be. So those two things became a driving force for me to find something like that. And that's another thing that I absolutely love with Gifts of Legacy. If you have a dream, you have a why. Mine was to live an unconventionally free financial life, not to have a boss, not to be dictated to in any traditional manner, absolutely live to do what I believe God is calling me to do any day, and not have to worry about money, not at all. So that became my drive, and I said to my siblings, I said, I've stopped being a CA. And I want to show you, I'm going to live a better life now. You guys have called me lucky, called me everything. Look at me building a better life than the life I had built before. And I want to see now your excuse, what you're going to call me when I do what anybody in this world can do and absolutely create a legacy, and that really became the thing that pushed me as well to just prosper, in this community. But I just want to touch on what I have found here. The heart in this community is amazing. I found people that have listened a little bit to my story. Some thought, wow, Ningi, that's very bold. But I have never been judged. My friends, when I started this journey, went through a phase, and I understand why they did. where they initially withdrew because they felt what you're doing is crazy and irresponsible. We're not going to support you so that you can fall flat on your bum and go look for a job, you know. And I had to allow them that space. When they realized, no matter how dark my days, I was not talking about a job. One actually offered to hire me. She runs her own company. And I said to her, my friend, I'm not taking that. Right now, I just need your help this way. You help me this way or you don't, but I'm not taking your job. I left being an employee. So it's either you help me or you don't. And eventually when they realize my resolve, a lot of them are now in the community. You know, they are in Gift of Legacy. And they've started to realize she believes in this. There's something she sees in this. And they've decided to come, which blesses me, because I know in time, they will also realize that which we all see, and it will be a blessing in their lives as well. So that's another thing. But I'm just on this heart thing. I'm just encouraging us as a community, particularly if you find yourself being a legend on $100 board, particularly, you are such a critical face of this community. That's the entry level of Gift of Legacy. How you interact with people at that level is gonna be their first experience of a touch and a feel, of a heart of Gift of Legacy. So I really just want us who are in the community to always bear that in mind, particularly at that level, that when you are a legend, particularly on the $100 board, be kind. Be really kind, because a lot of the people are experiencing this community for the first time through you. But I really thank the community for the love and acceptance. I haven't been judged for my crazy decisions. I know they were crazy to my family and a lot of my friends, but here I've been supported, you know, where I've had that little bit of a chance to share what the journey I'm on, I've been supported. So moving on to where I am now. And I'm currently a builder on a platinum board on the 1st of May. Yes, that's where I am now. And I'm absolutely thrilled. On the 1st of May, I got to give another lady who's become a wonderful friend $5,000. It was the biggest joy of my life. You know, it's so good to know you have seed on the ground. When you take that unconditional gift and you give to someone, you now feel like, Lord, now I have seed on the ground. I've blessed this family. It's seed on the ground. And I now have reason to expect to receive, which is so, so awesome, you know, and it's a biblical principle as well. And that is where I am right now. And my kids also, after I cycled out of my first gold board to join platinum, both my kids said, Ningi, Mama, please, we want in. We want into this community. I never force any of my family to do anything that I do. I want them to make a sober decision. I've always felt this is a community where they can thrive, but I didn't want to force them. Even my 15-year-old took birthday gifts and said, Mommy, sign me up. He had birthday gifts that I was holding for him, and he said, sign me up in Gift of Legacy. I want to make this money. I want to be part of this community. And these are the legacies we are creating. And as a family, I just, you know, we are in 103 countries right now. I need us to be cognizant of the fact that we are agents of abundance. To these faces out there, the people that we are interacting with, currently they have no hope. There's very limited things that gift the amounts that Candice and Ellen were talking about, that we have access to. When you work it out in any local currency, it is substantial money. Many people are not waking up every day with offers like this on their table. We really have a life-changing vehicle, a life-changing community. We should share it and share it with pride. We start with our personal wise, but on the journey, we realize that we have such a precious vehicle that we can't just keep it to ourselves, just our siblings, just our little, you know, a circle of people, but we have to share it with the world. And I really do believe that we are in a community that's going to change generations. It's going to outlive us, and it's going to change many lives. And in time, you know, to the core leadership team, you guys have started something, and you don't even know what you've started. It is so big, it is huge. And we're just grateful to fit in your vision, find our own visions within it, and run and take it to color the lives of our communities, and to just spread the word to say, hey, here's abundance. Come, let's work together. Let's be a community where we all win together, where not one of us is allowed to stay poor, stay the same ever again. And just family, I think with those words, I could go on because my story is long, but the journey of pursuit of passive income brought me to Gift of Legacy. And for that, I'm forever grateful. I really do believe this is the wealth for my wealth. And I thank each and every community member. And really my appeal is, I'm gonna say the statement that was said by my pastor on Sunday. Last few weeks at church, we were taught about grace to handle money. My pastor said, love people, use money. Don't ever love money and use people. May we be a community that will love people, do things from heart, and use money as a tool it was meant to be, to change lives. And yeah, I think that's just where I would love to live it. But thank you so much to our leaders, the developers, and the incredible support team of Gift of Legacy that gets paid nothing, give so much of their time, their family time, that our lives may change. And certainly my life and my family is changing. And I'm excited about the next year and the year after and the year after. Thank you so, so much. Thank you so much.